This video is a review of Lab 10. So what you're going to look at in Lab 10 is looking at carbon dioxide levels, climate change. What this introduction does is it gives you an introduction to the carbon cycle. There's a video on through Blackboard in the same lab that goes through this, so you want to read this. And then in that other video, which has my lovely drawings in it, I drew on this model, on this picture, and I went through a lot of what is discussed up here. So you still need to read this. You still need to read this. Read it, watch the video, then read it again just to make sure that it makes sense. Then what you're going to do after that is answer questions based on that information. So it'll look at Mars, it'll look at Venus. I will put a second video up that is done by the person who came up with this model picture. He tends to get off tangents, go off on tangents. So just so you know that when you watch, but watch both of them. They will both help you answer these questions. Then you have some graphs to interpret. Okay, these graphs are actual graphs from actual places. Pretty recent. This one got data from 2016. Another graph from a scientific article and information it gives you. Again, another graph. And then you're going to kind of accumulate from what you've read, what you've watched in the videos, and what you've gotten from those graphs to answer those last questions. You're then going to run an experiment that is designed to help you understand why global warming occurs and the role that CO2 plays. What you're going to need for this, and it's in the list, you need to read this, and then it talks about material. Let me scroll up here. What you need, it says large pickle jars. You don't have to use pickle jars, but you need larger jars. You need jars large enough that a small jar can go in one of them. And so mason jars are really good. You can use different types of jars, but they all have to be the same size because that has to stay consistent throughout the experiment. Note that in this jar, you're going to have a smaller jar within it, so that these jars have to be big enough that a small jar can fill into that one. So again, these three need to be at the same size. You're also going to need, it says laboratory thermometers. Don't go out and spend a ton of money, but you can find, they need to be the same type of thermometer. You can find the kind with the little suctions on cups on them, small ones. That'll work. You're going to need 4 of them, 1 to go in each big jar and then 1 to go in the smaller jar. You also notice that this one is open, this one is covered, and this one is covered. So you'll have to have a lid for it. Okay? You'll have to have a lid for it. Anti-fog solution, you may be able to get away with that. The only reason you use that is to make it easier so you can see the thermometers, because you're going to have to read these thermometers while they are still covered. Okay? You're going to need a clock. The log sheet is down here. Okay, you're going to collect your data. This is the time in minutes and then the temperature. So you're going to collect time every 5 minutes until you get to 30. Then it's going to be every 15 minutes. So it's going to take you about an hour and a half to do this. Now, once you get to 30 minutes, you can do some other stuff in between, but you don't want to lose track of time. Okay, so what the models are going to look like, and I'll just explain it. Go back up here. First model here is just an empty jar. This is representing the Earth and the temperature. You do need to make sure that the thermometer is not directly facing your source of light, which I'll talk about in a minute. So either put a piece of cardboard on it and have the thermometer facing away from the light, or if you find one with the suction on it, small one with the suction that you put up in your kitchen, the thing the thermometer is on, you put the suction facing the sun and then the thermometer away from the sun. All right. Now your source of the sun can be the sun. All right, so if you know it's nice out, you know you're going to get a good hour and a half of sunlight, you can do it out there, but it needs to be in direct sunlight. Or the other option you have is if you can get a very bright light, if you can get a light that's going to generate heat, take the lampshade off and put these, now they have to be in front of it. They can't be on the ground. The lamp can't be way up high. That light has to be at the same level as the 3 jars are. So you have a couple options there, okay? I'm gonna have you take a picture of this though and show me that, how you set it up. But you need to make sure that the light is facing, okay, or directly at the same level as the jars. So this jar is just an empty jar with the thermometer in it. This one is the jar with the thermometer in it, the same type of thermometer. You do all 3 at the same time. This time it's covered. That covering is going to mimic carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The third one is has 2 thermometers. One is of the air temperature, one is of the water temperature. So you have the small, all right, jar that fits in the large jar filled with water. This is going to mimic the oceans of the earth. And notice it is all also covered. Okay, it is covered. And then the light would be at the same level as the 3 jars. All right, try to make them equal distant from the light. Again, if you're doing it outside, as long as they are in direct sunlight, obviously you can't put them at the same level as the sun, you'd have to fly into space, but you can just put them, but they all need to be in the same direct sunlight. You're doing 2 experiments with this. You're comparing this one to this one, and then you're going to compare this one to this one, okay, and to see what the differences are in the temperature. This just goes through what I went through with the different models. It gives you the procedures. What I want you to make sure you do is that before you start the experiment, you do this set of questions. Okay, you do this set of questions. So before you start, answer these. Again, this is your hypothesis based on what you've read, based on the videos you've watched. What do you think is going to happen? What is going to be different? Then you're going to go get a piece of graph paper from offline, or do it on a computer, that's fine. And you're going to do a line graph. It's going to have 4 lines on it. 1 for each jar, and then 1 for the water. Okay, then 1 for the water. Here's your data collection sheet. I know you can't see it here, but this is time in minutes. Again, so every 5 minutes until you get to 30 minutes, then you can go every 15. And then here are your 4 temperatures that you are recording. You can record them in Fahrenheit or Celsius. Make sure you're consistent with the temperature. You can use, it says Celsius here. Science is normally supposed to be done in metric, but if you do Fahrenheit, that's fine. Just make sure that on the graph that you mark your axis correctly so we know that it is in Fahrenheit. All right, and then it's going to ask you questions about your experiment. Okay. Now, the last section of this lab is looking at what's called the Paris Accord. If you follow the news at all, it's been pretty much in the news, at least for the last year, and this is 2017. The Paris Accord, which the summary of the Paris Accord is right here. You'll have to scroll down. Okay, so this was put out by the official committee of the Paris Accord. Okay. So you need to read all that. It gives you a summary of what is expected of countries. It deals with climate change and trying to reverse the tendencies or the trends that we are seeing. And after you read that, then you need to answer the questions. Okay, you need to answer the question. Ask you questions just to know that you read it. Then it's going to ask you a question that's politically, looking at the politics of it, supporting your choice on yes or no with evidence. Okay, not just with what you think, but with evidence. So you can think what you want to think, but you're going to have to support your thoughts with evidence for that last question. Okay. All right, so that is the end of this lab. Again, this is just all the Paris Accord. Okay. I just pretty much copied and pasted the summary into the lab. So you just need to make sure you're reading it. Gives you some data there. Again, a pie graph to look at some data. Tells you what each country agreed to do. And that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions on the experiment, make sure before you do it that you let me know if you're having any issues with it. Again, there's a little cost there, but still much cheaper than buying a whole lab thing. So if you have any questions, let me know.